Hello, hello, here we go, it's the Copite Podcast.
What is happening, everyone, and welcome back to another Copite Podcast. Today, have a little chat about Tuesday's 3-0 win over Norwich in the Carabao and discuss all the relevant news ahead of what's going to be quite a tricky trip to Brentford on Saturday, I imagine. But yeah, I'm Mick, and I'm joined by LFC goal correspondent for Goal. It's Neil Jones. How are we doing, Neil? You okay?
Yeah, all good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good. Yeah, nice to have you on again. I think it's been a while, but yeah, I think the last one you were on was pre-season press, which is obviously feels like a long time ago now, that doesn't it? But yeah, nice to have you on again, mate.
It's so long to get back in the swing of the season, does it?
I know, exactly. But yeah, let's just jump straight into it. I mean, I want to just cover the Norwich game a little bit, just because there was quite a few big talking points from that, really. Obviously, a good win over them at their place. 9 changes from the Palace game. I think one of them, the funniest stats was like our right-hand side was younger than James Milner, which is, I just thought that was absolutely hilarious with Bradley and Gordon. But what did you make of their performances overall in Bradley and Gordon? I thought they done pretty well, didn't they?
Yeah, I think they did in different ways, really. I mean, I think first of all, it's a big thing from the manager. You know, it says a lot about Jurgen Klopp, and maybe it says a little bit about how he views the League Cup. But to put them on the same side together, you know, with Oxlade-Chamberlain as the right side of the midfielder as well. So it wasn't like you had Milner or Henderson sort of babysitting them in that regard. Oxlade, I know he's a senior player, but he's not that natural sort of coach on the field, if you like, that you could, and he's got his own form to find, really, which, you know, I don't think he did, perfectly honest. But I think on the same side was a big show of faith in them and a big sort of, you know, test for them. But I thought he did really well. You know, I mean, we'll start with Gordon. I mean, he's the one that everyone's so excited about from the under 23s, you know, and 18s, and you can see why. I think just in terms of, it's not the best he's ever played. It won't be the best he ever plays for Liverpool, but just the little moments he has in the game where, you know, you can see his willingness to run with the ball. His first touch is brilliant. You know, he knows how to protect the ball, even though he's a young lad. You know, I mean, it was a great moment right in front of the Liverpool fans where he charged down Ben Gibson right in the corner flag, and what, you know, I think you can see the throw in, but like you just heard the roar from it, and that's great. You know, I think it's sometimes we forget, you know when you sort of say, Norwich are rubbish, or Norwich and, you know, bottom of the league, or they're going to go down or whatever. But you look at Grant Hanley, Ben Gibson, Timu Pukki, Billy Gilmore, you know, whoever, all these players, a lot of games in the Football League, you know, experienced lads, and whether you think they're good players or not, they've got nous, and they've got ability, and they've got physicality. And for people like Kate Gordon, Conor Bradley to be competing with those players is credit to them. I thought Bradley, I think the biggest thing you can say about him is the second half performance. I think it was a real show of character, really, from him, because that could have been defining for his Liverpool career. If that penalty goes in and Liverpool lose, then people will say, "Oh, Conor Bradley, he's the lad who give the penalty away when we got beaten in the Carabao Cup. You know, he give a chance away at the start of the second half." So he got a bit of luck. He got bailed out by his goalkeeper, but I thought the way he performed in the second half was outstanding. He'd come on, just got stronger and fitter. And I think Jurgen made the point after the game. He said that they were still able to compete for 90 minutes and actually thrive for 90 minutes. I mean, Bradley's winning the ball 20 yards from the Norwich goal for their goal, and that's 80 minutes. So to do that at that level, I think reflects really well on both of them. And not forgetting, obviously, Tyler Morton second half as well, you know, coming on in a bit of an unfamiliar position for him. A bit, you know, big ask. Game still in the balance, and performance of him in the second half I thought was brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't even going to touch on Tyler Morton, but I think the first thing he did was just absolutely crunch someone in half, and I was like, "Get in!" It was great to see, wasn't it?
Because myself and Ian Doyle from the Echo, we did a derby match in January at Southport at a 1-1 draw, 23s, and Everton had quite an experienced side out of them. I'm trying to think about some of the players. Everton had I think Anthony Gordon played. There was a couple of others. Ellis Sims, who ended up going to Blackpool and helping them win promotion to the champ. They had quite an experienced side. Benny Beningame played. And Tyler Morton scored that night, and we interviewed him after the game. And I sort of asked him, I said, "Oh, you know, tell us a little bit about yourself." I said, "What type of midfielder are you? Are you Thiago? Are you Henderson? Are you Fabinho?" He said, "Oh, I'm a little bit of everyone." And we sort of laughed, and he went, "Oh no, I don't mean it like that." He said, "But, you know," he said, "I like to score. but I like to play 1 and 2 touch. He said that's I love playing 23s rather than 18s because it's 1 and 2 touch. And then he sort of just gave this look and he said, and I like a tackle. And I thought, oh, fair enough. There's a little bit of, listen, it's not, but there's a little bit of that Scouse sort of in him. Gerrard. It was a bit of a Gerrard tackle, wasn't it? He waited. He left. He didn't need to go in the way he did, but he thought, I'll make me mark here, and he did it really well. And credit to him. I thought he was brilliant second half. I really do. I think he made a really good impression.
Yeah, like I said, that first tackle, I was like, wow. And then there was a few moments where maybe he got played in a bit of a tight area, but he was just cool as anything, played his way out of it. And yeah, he looked really good. But I just wanted to come to obviously you've done an interview after the game with captain on the night, Joe Gomez, which was a boss read. I'll put the link in the description if you haven't read that yet. But I just wanted to ask you about his description of Kate Gordon, because what he said was every time he trains with us, he applies himself properly. He does extra things that wouldn't have even crossed my mind when I was his age. Hats off to him. I'm sure he'll go on to have a great career. The platform he has, there's no ceiling to it. And that's unbelievable praise, isn't it? And like you said, like the stuff that he was doing, like what stuck out to me was that run that he made. I think it was in the first half, maybe halfway through, and he picked up the ball, slowed the defender down, cut inside, had a shot, and I think it just missed the post. But stuff like that, you don't expect that type of thing from a 16-year-old in an occasion like that, do you?
Yeah, only certain types of 16-year-olds, you'd probably say, isn't it? You look at down years at the ones who sort of burst onto the scene. I mean, look, we have to be careful not to put him straight into that category. But you think of all the players who were prodigies. They did it early, Michael Owen or Fowler. I think it was this week, wasn't it? Robbie's first goal for Liverpool on his debut as a youngster. You think of like Wayne Rooney at 16, I think, scored in the Premier League. So you've got those moments that you remember from those young players, and Gordon was one of those who looks like he's more than comfortable. I mean, if Liverpool if he'd have been 4 inches taller, he might have had a hat-trick in the first half, because Liverpool kept pinging in crosses from the left-hand side. Simicast was putting crosses in, and he was in there every single time at the back post, but it was just above his head. And you think, good on you. I think that's one of the things that stands out most about him, actually. I think Pep Linders said it. He's always between the posts. He's always in positions to score goals where, it's not just a winger who stays wide and hugs the line and whips crosses in and does those things. He wants to score goals, and he's done it. He's done it at the 23s. He's done it with the 18s. He's had chances in the first team. He could have had a couple during pre-season, and it is good to see. And I think it is definitely notable that Joe Gomez would say something like that, because generally you get used to footballers, football managers, football coaches playing it down. Listen, he's got a lot of work to do. He's got to keep working hard. As long as he keeps on the right track, keeps his head down. But Liverpool really don't seem to have a problem with bigging this lad up, and I think that says an awful lot about what they think of him. And yeah, I mean, the best part, I suppose, of the Gomez quotes about him was that it sounds like he's already got that work ethic about him, that he's not turning up as the best player in school and I'm thinking, right, well, I'm the best player in school, so I'm gonna just play my normal game. It sounds like really sort of trying to do the right things to make himself a professional as well, which he's got a way to go. Yeah, he's 16. He's not. I think it's his birthday on the 5th of October. So I dread to think what I was doing just before my 17th birthday, but I can guarantee you it wasn't anything as impressive as what Kate Gordon's doing.
Yeah, I mean, you just alluded to it there, but I think, like you said, Pep Linders did say something last week about it, saying that people at the age of 16, they have maybe 2 of the 6 or 7 things that you need as a forward for Liverpool, and he's got quite a few of them already. And I think that in itself is massive, isn't it? Like a compliment to how good he is.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that run you were referring to earlier on the show, I mean, that a bit Salah, wasn't it? There's a lot of Salah things in that. He had a defender at arm's length. He was moving, he was moving across to work the shot. He had 2 or 3 sort of chances where he might have left flying and didn't, and moved on. So a lot of things in that. And don't forget, I was saying this on earlier today to someone about people will now naturally start saying, well, Salah's in his position, so how does he get in the side? But he's a footballer. He's 16. We saw Harvey Elliott. We all thought Harvey Elliott, right side of midfielder or right side of winger. Where's this opportunity going to come? And then all of a sudden in pre-season, you see him and think, well, he could play midfield. So you could see Kate Gordon, playing on the left-hand side. You could see him playing down the middle. You could see him maybe playing as an 8. I've spoke to people at Liverpool who say if he fills out physically, he'll be more than capable of playing in a midfield three. You know, he's got that touch and the balance and the ability to go either way with the ball. So I think, you know, there's a lot of growth to come from him. And at the moment, it's just nice to enjoy the little snippets. I think the draw for the 4th round is brilliant for those young players. You know, I think everyone was looking at it last night, and all the Liverpool fans who I was speaking to were saying the same thing. Oh, here we go. We're going to get, you know, Manchester City's invincible Centurions or Arsenal's Invincibles away. You know, that thing. But you know, they get Preston. It's a nice, decent, not a bad trip for supporters, but also it's a chance for those young players to play again in this competition and maybe get another 90 minutes or another hour or 45, whatever it may be. So I think it's great for them. And you know, I looked last night, for example, at Manchester United. I watched that game against West Ham, and they had the lad played on the left hand side, came on off the bench, Anthony Elanga. I've watched him at 23s level, very good player. But where's his chance going to come now? They've just been knocked out of the League Cup at home. You know, he probably won't get another chance again this season. At least Liverpool are going to get at least one more chance, maybe another one after that. And you know, it's up to them to keep showing that they've got all the capabilities. But as a first impression of those 3 players, I thought it was a good one.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's like you said, I think Gordon is the type of Klopp player where he probably hasn't got a defined position yet, because he's not old enough to have that, is he really? But yeah, he's got all the tools. I mean, like you said, you don't want to big up a 16-year-old too much, because could look back in like 5 years and be like he's fell off the edge of a cliff. But he's got most of the quality there, hasn't he?
And the danger is, I mean, listen, you know, he became the 5th youngest player to play for Liverpool, and you look at the 4 ahead of them. So Elliott's one of them, obviously. So I think massive potential, but the other 3 are Jerome Sinclair, Jack Robinson, and James Norris, who played. James Norris is a little bit of a false position on that list, because it was in the game where they played with the kids against Villa last year, or year before last, should I say. So there's a mix there in there. That, you know, there's a lot of players who everyone was quite excited about. I think Jerome Sinclair was one that a lot of people thought had the chance of becoming a first teamer not so long ago and didn't. You know, thinking a bit further on, but like people like Ben Woodburn, you know, there was a lot of excitement on that. But I think with Gordon, I think one thing that stands out is you can already see the attributes that would make him fit into the Liverpool side, whereas others, you just saw that they were good footballers and they were good players. And you know, someone like Ben Woodburn's a good example. You thought, well, whose place does he take, or where do you bring him on in a game? It was difficult to see that. I think with Gordon and with Elliott, I think you can see just what type of situations and what type of positions you could play them in.
Yeah, well, Chris just put a good comment here. I could see Gordon as a front 3 more than Elliott due to his pace. Elliott looks more like dangerous in the midfield 3. Yeah. Like I said, who knows? But like the sky's the limit. As cliche as it is for a K Gordon, because he's that good, isn't he? But
and listen, sorry, I don't want to. I mean, I'm dwelling a little bit on these things, but don't forget Curtis Jones. You know, I mean, we sort of talk about him. He made his 50th game, 20 years of age. You know, 21 in January, and we talk about him as if, like, you know, who's next? You know, let's forget it. You know, like, you know, we're over that Curtis Jones phase, aren't we? You know, like, as a youngster, he's still 20 years of age. I thought he was brilliant. So he's absolutely brilliant on Tuesday night. First half, footwork in tight areas. You know, never gave the ball away, pressed and turned out of danger. And then second half, playing a bit further forward with Tyler behind him. Really, really good performance from him. And I don't. Probably had a little bit of a fallow few months, hasn't he? You know, I think he had that sort of peak last season, sort of up to about February, sort of tailed off maybe towards the end of the season, but still huge potential there as well. And you know, so you've got him, Kevin Kelleher. What a big moment for him, saving a penalty. You know, you talk about finding a backup goalkeeper. I'll tell you what I saw of him on Tuesday night, and what I saw of him last season in the games he did play. You'd have to spend a fair bit of money, or buy a fairly old goalkeeper to find someone with the skills that he's got to back up. So a lot of positives, I think, coming from Liverpool's academy at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, you've just answered Yash's comment there. He asked how much do you rate Curtis' performances as a number 6, and it's like he started there, but like you said, he went forward, but that's the beauty of what Klopp brings to the team. He molds the players to kind of play in various positions and do them to a very high level. And that's why, like you said, like Curtis Jones would be absolutely gutted for Harvey Elliott to be out for as long as he is. And obviously Thiago's now out, and I think Kate is out at the weekend, which we'll come to in a bit. So there's a massive opportunity there, isn't he, for the likes of a Curtis Jones to make his mark? Because, like you said, forgotten about a little bit sometimes because, like you said, he's been played like 30 odd games last year in a bit of a mad season, done quite well, and he's just a baby, and he could be unbelievable in the next couple of seasons, couldn't he?
Oh, I think he did it really so. I mean, to answer the question about what to think of his performance as a six, I think if you factor in, I mean, he wasn't meant to play there. Milner was going to start the game as the whole midfielder. Woke up with a bit of a cold, which won't do his hard man image any good, will it, James Milner? But, they've obviously decided not to risk him and put him in. And we looked at the team, and we had the team sort of 15 minutes before it come out, and we were like, midfield three: Oxlade-Chamberlain, Jones, and Keita. Who's going to sit out of those three? You thought, and I thought I would have said Keita. That would have been my thing. Would have been Keita as probably the most experienced midfielder of the three, but it was Curtis. Thought he was excellent. And then you look in the second half. You know, you swap Keita for someone even more inexperienced, and they put Tyler Morton in there, and you know, so there is that versatility is really good, and I think it does help as well. That probably I could imagine there's almost like a syllabus almost of what you need to play in each role in this Liverpool team. And so if you know that maybe you don't play as Fabinho's role, but you know that if you do play as Fabinho's role, there are certain things that you just have to, the certain boxes you have to tick. And I think the way that Liverpool train will enable those players that even if they don't play in those certain roles, whether they play in, you know, let's say Ox playing in Salah's role, or Ox playing in his number 8 role, or, you know, Jota playing in Mane's role, or as Firmino's, they will have those sort of almost tick lists of, right, you know, I need to be here in this type of moment. I need to do these kind of things. I need to, you know, offer in these areas between the lines, or I need to drop into this position when the full, you know, there will be that sort of thing. And judging by what I saw from Curtis and Tyler, they're obviously listening.
Yeah, I mean, it's boss to see, isn't it? Like when you've got young kids like that coming through, and they just look very mature for their age. It's great. It's great for us that there's not that much pressure on them as well, because we've got so many good players in there that they're not going to be relied on as much as they might have done maybe 10, 15 years ago if they've came in and had a good performance. So, but back to the interview you did, and I just want to come to the other quote that Gomez said that I found quite interesting about Konate, when he said that he's an unbelievable player, and you look at the attributes that he's got and you can see how good he is. He said, when I was younger, I had Verge to learn from, but Ibu is already experienced. He's already a top player, and it's enjoyable to play alongside them. And it's, yeah, I mean, for me, the thing that stands out, he's really calm, but that recovery pace, just watching him in from the Norwich game specifically, like there's a couple of moments where it looked like they were in and behind, and that pace that he's got just to get himself out of danger, that's just going to be such a valuable asset for us, isn't it?
I think so, yeah. I mean, him and Gomez, I doubt you'll get a quicker centre-back pairing than those two at any level, really. You know, they are like, I thought Gomez was brilliant as well in the game, you know, really sort of front foot, and I think he played the pass of the match. I think it was Oxlade-Chamberlain down the inside the full-back down the left first half. But Konate, you know, it'll take him time to learn. It'll take him time to sort of just learn little things. There was a couple of passes he played into midfield where he put people under pressure, or people weren't ready for the pass, and you know, that's natural. You know, he didn't give the ball away necessarily. He maybe just put people in trouble. But like you say, the recovery pace and the ability to, he looks like he's got pace, but with balance alongside it. And sometimes you get sort of centre backs. I think Billy Kometio's a good example of this. Billy Kometio can shift, but sometimes it almost looks like he's going too fast, and he's a little bit like a little nudge. You'll send him over. Konate just looked like shoulders were out, and it was like, look, I'm gonna burn you off, and don't even bother trying to sort of, you know, try and shoulder me or anything like that. I'll be able to turn out. And he's, you know, look, it's very early in his Liverpool career. I didn't see the Palace game Saturday night. I didn't see the 90 minutes, so I couldn't comment on that. I did ask my Facebook followers about what his performance was, and there was a few mixed comments about, you know, he looked great. There was a few saying, positionally he was a bit, you know, suspect a couple of times, but he's 21, 22 coming into Liverpool, big price tag on him. I think you'd take the first two games, you're winning 3-0 in both of them, and you're learning a fair bit against, you know, both games he's got a different centre-back partner. And if you think that after everything that we went through last season with centre-backs and what we looked at, you see Nat Phillips chatting to Ozan Kabak on the sideline at Carrow Road, and neither of them, one of them doesn't even play for Liverpool, and the other one looks pretty much like he might never play for Liverpool again, you know, unless there's another crisis. It's gone from famine to feast.
Yeah, and I mean, just touching on like the Palace thing, I think there was a moment where he was out of position for one. Obviously, they should score from that, but like you said, that but I hadn't really thought of it. Yeah, like the pace, but with balance. Like there was a couple of times where Benteke was through, and then there was a chance where Edouard was through, and like you said, the pace, but keeping him at arm's length to kind of stifle it, and then put the challenge in.
It's very Van Dijk, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it is.
I would give like sort of, I'm trying to think of a player who maybe is a bit. I feel like doesn't have that, and maybe someone like Michael Keane. You watch someone like Michael Keane at Everton, or maybe a little bit like Harry Maguire. That you just sometimes feel like they can be caught, maybe even cruising a little bit. Maybe they don't expect it, but I don't ever get that. Certainly don't get it with Van Dijk. That's never going to happen. Whereas with Konate, with Joel Matip so far this season, how good he's been. It just feels like they're in control of situations when they get out to chase down the channels, or there's someone who's going to test them 1v1. You just think, I'm backing them here, and that's not a bad place to be with your centre backs.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, options galore. Really, it's nice. It's nice to see. But I just wanted to ask you on Taki as well, because I remember when we last had our chat on the show, when we obviously transfer window was open, we talked about Taki Minamino a little bit, and we were obviously expecting players to come in, and we were talking about Taki maybe leaving if an offer came in, and obviously he's not had maybe the smoothest ride in the first part of his Liverpool career, but 2 goals on the night, and I thought he was really good, wasn't he? Like that second goal especially was quite good, really.
Yeah, I wrote in my piece actually. I said he looked like the player Liverpool had signed from Salzburg, far more than the player that they loaned to Southampton. That was sort of, I could imagine, a manager saying, "Watch that again. That's what we want." That's you. Do those kind of things, and helps when you get an early goal. And he took it really well, didn't he, through the keeper's legs. And then there was a few nice moments where he's not reliable in the Salah, Mane, Firmino, even Jota physicality of holding the ball with his back to goal. But there's a few nice moments where he retains possession. But I think where you saw his real quality was when he gets on the half turn and he gets in those lines, and he can either carry the ball or play the ball into combinations with whoever, Origi or whoever. But yeah, very positive for him. He needed them. I think he had an injury from the international break and hadn't featured at all. Hadn't scored for Liverpool since that bizarre Crystal Palace game when he looked $1 million, and then got him sent to Southampton on loan. That was the first time. But positive signs. He'll be on the bench again, I'm sure, at the weekend. But it's nice, and it's nice to see when the manager, because the manager says things like, "Oh, he's unbelievable in training," or it's really difficult to leave these lads out. And a lot of people sort of go, "Oh, yeah." But it's nice to see that actually there's a bit of evidence to back that up. And at Divock as well, you can throw him into that. It's nice to see that then the spirit's not broken, that they can still play football, they can still contribute, and if you can add a little bit of confidence in from scoring goals, then it'll be all the better for Liverpool.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the thing. Like when we obviously only brought in Konate, and then you're like looking at the reserves, and you've got Taki and Origi, and you're like, are they going to cut it? And then they come in, and obviously it was only Norwich, but Divock against Milan, I thought was very good considering he hadn't played for a long time. So it's all about them.
Goal and assist, goal and 2 assists.
Yeah, so it's all about them playing themselves into form and keeping themselves fit, especially Taki, because we know he's got the quality. He just needs to stay fit, and you can make a real fist of like being quite a big player for us if he does it. I mean, that's easier said than done, because obviously we'll
write that on gravestones, won't we? If he can stay fit, there'll be a few Liverpool players who'll have that on the gravestone. If he could stay fit, he would be.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I think Oxlade-Chamberlain into that as well, but. I'm conscious of time, so we'll get on to Brentford then and team predictions, and that obviously Konate played obviously Palace, and then he played against Norwich, but 90 in both. So do you expect Klopp to revert back to the Van Dijk and Matip for this one?
Yeah, neither of them were even in the squad, were they, on Tuesday? So I think those two will come back in. I think it'll be Trent back in at right back and Robertson back in at left back. Obviously Alisson in goal. He had another one who had the night off. Fabinho in, Henderson. It looks, given the injury situation, that'd be amazing. It's not Curtis Jones who plays as the third midfielder, and then your front three as is. I mean, Firmino probably back available on the bench, I'd imagine. But I think it'd be Jota, Mane, Salah. Doesn't look too bad, does it? I mean, I know there'll be a lot of concern over the little injury Thiago's got and the one that Keita got kicking the floor against Norwich. Which, if anything sums up a player's sort of standing with supporters, maybe, or the reputation a player has, rightly or wrongly, probably that is if and Naby, isn't it? But it sounds like it's not the worst injury he's had since he's been at Liverpool anyway, and maybe just be this game. But it doesn't look too bad. So what would that be? That would be 11 changes. I think 10 changes. Curtis is probably the only survivor.
Yeah, 10 changes,
so 10 changes, strong side. The bench will be okay with Minamino, Origi, Ox, Gomez, Kanate, Tsimikas. Another one who had a great game, I thought, Tuesday, Tsimikas. Doesn't look too bad, does it?
Yeah, that's it. I think it's just, I mean, it's funny when you footy's mad because when you look back like 6 months ago and people are going, "Oh, Tsimikas isn't good enough as a backup to Robbo." All of a sudden, he gets a chance and he proves how good he is, and all of a sudden, you go, and actually, he's fucking boss. Like the delivery into the box is just.
You could play him. Like if someone said to you now, "Well, actually, Tsimikas is starting on Saturday," you might go, "Oh, really? That's interesting." But you would. I don't think you go, "Oh no," there would be no element to that, would there? So it's good to see. And the best thing about Tsimikas for me is how similar he is to Robertson in that sense. So with the greatest respect to Milner or Nico Williams, who come in at right back, they're not Trent, and they never will be, and they shouldn't try to be Trent. There's no point them trying to do all the things Trent does. But so you have to change the way you play with Tsimikas. You can literally just slot him in and say, don't even need to change the instructions. You just do all the things Robertson does.
Yeah, I mean, delivery from the wide areas is just it's pinpoint, isn't it? Like some of the crosses he's putting into the box is just. I mean, I think we've scored the most goals from corners. I think I've seen a stat from the end, like from the beginning of last season or whatever. Like we're top by, I think it was like 18
way as well, isn't it? It's a good way. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a. I don't know what it's like as a proportion of corners, because I think Liverpool get a lot of corners, but in terms of the amount of goals, I think they're sort of 6 or 7 clear of the nearest rival in the Premier League. And think about how many years we would have done podcasts and written columns and said things at the match saying about, well, what's the point in getting a corner? Don't even put it in the box because they're not going to score. And there was a fanzine, wasn't it? That was a famous fanzine, another wasted corner. So I mean, it's nice to be another potent corner at the moment.
Yeah, and I think that obviously dovetails into having 2 massive fellas, like whoever you put in. If it's Kanate, if it's a Matip, if it's even Gomez or Van Dijk, you've just got
corner. Gomez was going up for corner against Norwich. It's one of my pet hates of one of the few things I dislike about Joe Gomez. I don't dislike many things at all about him, but he doesn't go up for corners.
Yeah.
And I always think, come on, mate, you're a centre back who's over 6 foot. You at the very least, you're going to take a big marker away. You could go and take him into the back post for the near post corner. But he was going up for them on Tuesday. Maybe, who knows? Maybe eventually he'll get his first goal for Liverpool.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it like it's good to have him on the halfway, because if there's a breakaway, he's got the pace to deal with it, or just clean someone out and take a yellow card or whatever. But yeah, get in the box. That's a bit of a mad one. But yeah, and in terms of crossing the ball in, obviously there was a nice little set piece routine. It looked like obviously Van Dijk and Kanate went up, and then Salah got the head on it against Palace. That was like
a Van Dijk-esque header, wasn't it? It was a lovely effort, and gets the goal. So. I mean, he scored the header last season, didn't he? The year before, was it Brighton, when he scored like a sort of a near post dart away, and he's got a little tendency. And Jota gets his head on all sorts when he goes in the box. I mean, you sort of, a lot of times the ball just be headed behind, and you'll be in the press box, and you'll go to someone who headed that, and they'll say, "Oh, Jota," and you're like, "Of course it was." Yeah, he seems to have that little knack of getting into the right position or timing his arrival and stuff. For someone who's not particularly tall, I think he's a pretty good option in the penalty area.
Yeah, I mean, there was a moment where Thiago had an header, and I was like, I thought all my dreams are coming true. Like just an absolute beast of an header, and I was like, he saved it.
That was the one Jota missed the sitter from, wasn't it? Off the rebound, was it the keeper pushed it out, and Jota blazed it. Yeah.
You know what? Never fails to amaze me. No, Thiago's leap. I honestly, I can't get over how good it is. It's unbelievable, isn't it?
It's like he has to. Yeah, it's like he jumps twice almost. He sort of gets up originally and then like kicks his legs and goes a little bit higher. And it's just timing and sort of Yeah, bravery, I suppose, isn't it? You know, I always, it always amazes me people who head the ball a lot, because I played for years and that was just sort of something I could go 90 minutes without heading the ball. You know, it just wasn't my thing at all. So yeah, it's always nice to see someone go and win a big one.
Yeah, I suppose though that playing centre mid, you've got, like I did Sunday League many years, you've got no choice really. But
Those
yeah,
goal kicks, those goals coming down
any
with
goal kick for them,
snoring.
you're like, oh.
And then you'll hear the big lad shout from wherever he's come from, and you think, I'm getting cleaned out here, aren't I? But
yeah, oh, hilarious. But yeah, and obviously in terms of other team news, obviously you said Bobby probably be on the bench. I think Klopp said he's trained for 2 or 3 days, could be ready for Brentford, but definitely Porto if not. Trent, I loved Millie's interview after, saying about that Trent's got Zaha-itis, and I just thought that was hilarious, weren't it? I really enjoyed that one.
It's out. The karma bit him, didn't it? Because is he got solicitis then from Norwich? Because he woke up on the day of the game, didn't he, and didn't feel great. So, you know, Trent could easily hit back there and say, "Oh, he's terrified of Norwich's left winger, or Norwich's centre midfielder." But yeah, Trent come back in. I think that'd be a big boost for Liverpool, and you know, a little sort of break, you know, might have done him a little bit of good.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's created the most chances from right back, which, I mean, we're not surprised by anymore, because he's just that good, and when he gets on the ball, we all know what he can do. But in terms of going into the game, then obviously it's a bit of an unknown, isn't it? Because I mean, there's no recent history for Brentford really. Because I was looking today, just because maybe I'm just dead boring, but I think the last time we played them was at Anfield, 18th of March 1989. I wasn't born for another 7 months, and that was an FA Cup game. But I think that's what makes it, when you go to these grounds like that you've been to over the years, you kind of go, well, we battered them last year and we know we can beat them there. But with something like this, especially where Brentford have started the season quite well, they've beat Arsenal on the opening day 2-0, which was a big shock. And they've also beat Wolves last week as well, which was another great result. So it's going to be a tricky one, isn't it, going to their place?
Yeah, it will be, and you know, stadium's designed to give them an edge. You know, I've been writing a piece about Brentford, which will be on Goal on the weekend. The design of the stadium's only got 1,700 capacity for away fans, and part of the reason was to give Brentford that edge, but also the way that the stadium's designed is to make sure the atmosphere stays in. I think they did a lot of sound testing, so to make sure that they could replicate what they had at Griffin Park. So it should be somewhere that gives them an advantage in home games, and you can imagine what the atmosphere will be like for a Liverpool visit. You know, 5:30 kickoff on Sky, and first time Liverpool have been to Brentford in the league 74, 75 years, I think. So
yeah,
you know, they're not going to have any problems getting up for it. It's just whether Liverpool can settle the game down and make it their type of game, rather than, you know, getting drawn into what Arsenal did in the first game of the season, where Arsenal played right into their hands, didn't he? Give them all the encouragement they needed, and you know, were dragged under by them. I don't expect Liverpool to do that. You know, you'd certainly hope that there's no long throws bouncing in the Liverpool box and that kind of thing happening. But you know, it'll still be a challenge for them. Impressed by Brentford, really impressed by them. They've only lost once this season. That was a 90th minute winner. Brighton. Drawn at Palace, drawn at Villa, won at Wolves last week. Obviously beat Arsenal, so they've made a decent start to the life in the Premier League, and they're a team that's used to winning. They're a team that's got a goal scorer at the top end of the field in Tony, you know, already off the mark in the Premier League. So they'll carry a threat, but Liverpool, you know, at the moment, I'm in that zone with Liverpool where the 2019-20 zone, if you like. I'm in that zone of saying, well, I just back them to go anywhere really and win with a little bit to spare. So I wouldn't be fearing going there, but I think Liverpool will be pretty sharply focused.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think it's just that we're at that stage, aren't we, where we're quite early in the season, but we're just kind of in that autopilot funk where we're just kind of, right, we know how good we are. We can just batter these, and it just becomes the norm. And we don't expect it, because I mean the last year was just mental. But like you said, it is shades of the title winning season where it was just relentless. And I think if we kind of keep that going until we get halfway to the season, we'll start maybe believing that we can win it if we don't already.
Well, the next few weeks, I think, is it 7 of the next 8 are away from home? Or sorry, 6 of the next 7, but obviously 7 of the next 8, including Norwich. Because I mean, they've got Porto, they've got Preston in the cup. They've got Atletico Madrid coming up as well. I think the only home game in the next 8 is City. So you think if you can get through that period, you know, in decent nick, you think that's a pretty good sign for Liverpool going into this season. You know, all I've said there about Brentford, you could have applied to the Norwich game, first game of the season, R5 kickoff, newly promoted side, fans back in the stadium, Liverpool in town, all those things, and Liverpool were, you know, as comfortable as you like really in that Norwich game. And maybe it'd be a bit more difficult than Brentford, but I could certainly see something similar where they maybe have a little sticky patch in the first half, feel the way in, and then, you know, show a power play in the second half and take control. But I certainly wouldn't be backing against them, even though I think it'll be a decent contest.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a question earlier, which I'll just throw to you. Paul Cox said his question for Neil: are we going to win the league?
Listen, why not? Why not? And, you know, I haven't seen anything. The only thing I've seen that could convince me that Liverpool won't win the league is Chelsea, probably. You know, in the sense that I think they can win the league. Chelsea, I think Liverpool certainly can. I don't, you know, I think maybe Liverpool will go back to it again and again, but are probably more dependent on the if fit and if certain players stay fit than other clubs. But I think in terms of, you know, was it Gary Neville saying that Liverpool's first 11s might still be the best in the league after everything, you know, for all the talk of Ronaldo and Lukaku and Grealish and whoever else, Liverpool might still have the first, and I think they have. I think Liverpool's first 11 is the best in the Premier League if everyone's fit. I think maybe the only question mark would be if, you know, what's it like if 3 or 4 of them aren't fit. But certainly, Paul, I think they can win the league, mate.
Love it. But yeah, so we'll leave it there, Neil. But before we do, what score predictions? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I might say 3-0 again because they seem to win every game 3-0. Don't they? So I might say 3-0. 2-0, 3-0 would be my bet. That would be my spread bet. But yeah, I'll go for 3. I'll push the boat out and say 3-0 Liverpool.
Yeah, because I've seen a stat actually recently. I think we've won the last 4, haven't we? By
4 away games.
Yeah, and I think the last time we did that was in like 17-18. I think when we had like 5 in a row where we scored over 3. So another record to go for. There's Sadio Mane 100 goals and Mo and whatever else recently. So that'll be another one.
If we can 100 Premier League goals to Liverpool, doesn't he? I think yeah. So yeah, I'd certainly be backing him to get that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, chances will hopefully be at a plethora for Mo, and hopefully he can bag a couple of them. But yeah, we'll leave it there. Neil, nice one again for jumping on. Nice one to everyone in the comments. Sorry I couldn't get to them all, but there was just too many, and I had too many questions for Neil, to be honest. So we'll get Neil on again soon, and we'll have a chat again. But nice one again, Neil. We'll be back again on Saturday straight after the game for an instant match review, and yeah, we'll see you in a bit. Nice one.